Hello children. In the previous class, you have learnt about the internal structure of the heart and how the heart will pump the blood. Means it carries oxygen along with the nutrients to different cells and tissues which are present in our body to produce energy. So each and every cell receives oxygen and also nutrients through the blood. But while exchanging of gases, means the cell will take the oxygen and nutrients and it will releases carbon dioxide into the blood. Means it releases the waste again into the blood. So that liquid, that waste must taken by the blood again back to the kidneys for the purification, and the carbon dioxide is given to the lungs. During this process, some amount of liquid portion of the blood, that is the, we call it as tissue fluid, and we can also say it as lymph. So this lymph or fluid is left within the cells. Suppose these are the cells or tissue. Means it takes oxygen and releases carbon dioxide and also waste back to the blood. During this process, some amount of fluid is left in these cells. So continuous means the blood will not distribute the blood in a particular time. It will continuously flow throughout our body. How the blood pumps, it also supplies. Means how much the fast the heart pumps. Depending upon the pulse, the heartbeat is dependent. So you know that one. During this process, some amount of liquid, that is the blood, is left. Blood means not the whole blood, only the liquid portion, means except solid particles like RBCs, WBC and platelets. These are given back into the blood, but some amount of liquid, you know that we will call it as the serum. So that liquid portion is called lymph or tissue fluid, is left within these cells. So not only for the single cell, each and every cell the same process is continued. So during continuous supplement of these, means for one time it may left 0.00 1 ml. So it increases for every pumping, means for every pumping the cell will receive some blood. At that time some amount of liquid is left in the cell. Means continuously is leaving some portion of the liquid portion. So what will happen? The cell will bulges, means increases in size due to the lymph, due to the presence of lymph. So at that place you can see some accumulation of water, means outer part will be swollen. Good example for that one is, if you see some, it may not occur in the young age, teenagers or some aged persons, but you can see in the old age people, if they travel continuously for more than 5 to 10 hours, their legs, means the lower part of the legs will get swollen because of this accumulation of water. Why? Because there is no movement. We can move our body, just upper part of the body only we will move while sitting. We may move our hands, our body parts, but the lower parts may not be, don't have any exercise. So that's why these cells, the lower part of the cells will get accumulated with the water and their legs will be swollen. So that type of condition we call it as edema. It is nothing but just accumulation of this tissue fluid. We call it also lymph. We can call this accumulated water as lymph or tissue fluid. You may get one doubt, why this increases, means why it is leaving. For every cell it will increases. So daily means for 1 hour, 2 hours, for 3 hours, means the cell size as it increases. What happens? Automatically the whole body also get accumulated this water. But it should not happen. No? Why? Because it may lead to some other conditions. So for that only a special system is needed. That is nothing but lymphatic system. Here the name lymph means nothing but water. The name lymph means word. It is taken from the Latin word which means water. It does not contain. Lymph is nothing but blood. It is also a blood, but it is just only liquid part of the blood. It does not contain RBC, WBC or platelets. Okay. This lymphatic system is parallel to the venous system. Means venous system means arteries and veins. Where arteries supplies oxygenated blood, whereas veins supply deoxygenated blood. So this process means this is opposite to this venous system. Means it is taking the oxygen and also carbon dioxide. It is supplying nutrients and bringing back carbon dioxide and waste materials to their respective places. But this lymph, what it is doing? It will bring this accumulated water which is accumulated in the cells. It must also go to its original position. For that, this lymphatic system will helpful. Means it will take that leftover water from the cells again back into the normal blood. So there are lymph nodes in our body. In the lymphatic system, the lymph is the liquid portion. So lymphatic nodes also present. You can see in your textbook the dot-like structures in the diagram of the lymphatic system, that they are nothing but lymph nodes. Those nodes will help in the purification of this lymph, and means it will purify and bring back this lymph into the original position. So it is nothing but the leftover water is given back into the blood, but with the help of lymphatic system. Next one, evolution of transport system. As usually in the earlier classes, in the respiration we have learned how the respiration is evolved from unicellular organisms to multicellular organisms. Here also the transport system is different in different organisms. If you compare the unicellular organisms, the whole cell means the single cell will perform the whole processes like transportation, digestion, excretion, respiration. But in multicellular organisms, each and every tissue will perform its own functions. So there is evolution, means there are some adaptations from unicellular to multicellular organisms. In that, if you see amoeba, the cell membrane and the protoplasm, that is nothing but cytoplasm, helps in the process of absorbing the nutrients, digestion, excretion, respiration. Means these nutrients or oxygen is absorbed through the cell membrane into the cytoplasm, and the cytoplasm will help in the process of digestion. Again it will give off the excretory waste again back into the surroundings. Here no special organs are there. So we call it as Brownian movement. Why? Because for the locomotion or for the search of food, the amoeba will change its body shapes. We call it as Brownian movement. Whereas in sponges, which are highly developed when compared to amoeba, these sponges have flagellae. You know that they are mainly present in the water, in the seas. So they will beat their flagella in the water. So the water currents helps the organism to absorb the nutrients and also oxygen from the surrounding water, and helps in the digestion, excretion, and also respiration. So in the sponges, the water currents are the mainly helpful for the transportation and the nutrients. If you see in the cnidarians, in that the gastrovascular cavity is developed for the process of digestion and also for the transported system. This system helps, means the absorbed nutrients are digested with the help of this, means the helps in the process of digestion and also helps in the transportation of nutrients within the organism. Next, if you come to the platyhelminthes, the digestive and excretory system are developed. Means this organism has special digestive system and also which helps in the process of transportation. Means the absorbed nutrients must be distributed throughout the organism, and also the excretory system is also highly developed when compared to sponges, cnidarians. Next, nemathelminthes. In the nemathelminthes, here you can see the pseudocoelom. Pseudocoelom. Here pseudo means false. Coelom means just like blood. How the blood helpful in the process of transportation? The gases and food items in our body. Same, this coelom helps in the transportation of the substances in the organisms. Here coelom is nothing but just like blood. Here pseudo means false. Here the word pseudo means false. So in the false blood, you can say false blood, pseudocoelom helps in the process of transporting the nutrients and gases in the organisms. If you compare annelids, they have pulsate vessels. Means special vessels are developed to transport the blood or nutrients, through which these are nothing but just like arteries and veins, which helps in the process of transporting. So when compared to these, all annelids are somewhat developed, highly developed compared to these. Next, arthropods. In these organisms also pulsate vessels are present, but the blood flows outside the vessels, not inside. Means the nutrients or gases are directly supplied to the tissues and also to the cells. Here the pulsate vessels are present, but the cell will distribute the nutrients directly to the tissues. So we call it as open type of circulatory system. Open type of circulatory system. Example for arthropods, you can say cockroaches. Next, if you see the closed type of circulatory system. This closed type of circulatory system is present in the highly developed organisms, in the octopus, human beings. Why? Because the blood will supply within the pulsate vessels. Within the pulsate vessels. Whereas in the arthropods, there is no, there are pulsate vessels are present, but the fluid is distributed directly to the cells. Whereas in this the nutrient or blood is supplied within the vessels. So we call it as closed type of circulatory system. See, from the unicellular organisms to multicellular organisms, how the transport system is developed as sequential. Means somewhat, if you compare amoeba, there is no special or any structures are present. Where if you see in the nematodes, the blood itself helps in the process. That blood means pseudoxylem, helps in the transportation of nutrients or gases. Whereas annelids, some pulsate vessels are developed. Whereas in the higher organisms, through these pulsate vessels only again the blood and nutrients are supplied to the, means within the vessels they are supplying the gas, the nutrients and gases. Okay, this is about the evolution of transport system from unicellular to the multicellular organisms. These are the very two important. The open type and closed type of circulatory system are very important for 2 mark and 1 mark questions along with the examples. Next one, blood pressure. Here BP, blood pressure is not, we call it as BP. If the BP is more than the particular level, the maximum means the normal range of the BP of a person is, how they will take is 80 by 120. 80 by 120. How they will calculate means the diastolic pressure. In the previous class we have discussed about what is diastolic and what is systolic phase. So the diastolic phase is taken as the upper, that's the 80. It must be 80. Whereas the systolic pressure, it must be 120. So this is the normal range of the person. Normal healthy person will have the normal range is 180 by 120 BP. If this BP is exceeded, we call it as hypertension. Sometimes it may decrease. We can call it as low BP. Means depending upon the person, their anxieties, this blood pressure may vary from person to person. If you see they cross particular age, they may get the hypertension. This BP is measured by a device called sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer is used to measure the BP of a person. And the next is, so these are the important points. That is the sphygmomanometer, open and closed type of circulatory system, symphatic system, what is edema. These are very important questions for 1 mark and 2 marks. We will continue in the next class with the how the transport system takes place in the plants. Thank you children. See you in the next class.